Welcome to this week's edition of the Business 7 Show. My name is Klahe, and joining us this week is Petrus Shifotoka, who is the Operational Manager at the Namibia Deposit Guarantee Authority. He will talk to us about the main functions of the authority and what it was created to do.
Running a business isn't just about hitting the big milestones, it's also about handling the day-to-day. From equipping your office, to closing deals over lunch, to managing your team's expenses while they're on the go. Now, with the FNB Business Credit Card, you can handle everyday expenses with ease. Enjoy up to 44 days of interest-free credit, unlimited swipes, and real-time expense tracking, so you're always in control. Apply for an FNB Business Credit Card. Contact us today to get started. FNB, how can we help you?
Petrus Shifotoka of the Namibia Development Guarantee Authority joins us to have a discussion around the mandate of the authority and its general functions. Welcome to the Business 7 Show.
Thank you for having me, Mihone. It's good to be here.
Just touch on the broad mandate and how the NDGA came into existence.
Right. Thank you so much for the platform. So the Namibia Deposit Guarantee Authority is an institution that was established back in 2020. So you realize that over the years we have seen banking institutions failing, not just in developing countries, but also in advanced economies. So after the financial crisis of 2008, a lot of countries really started establishing these type of institutions to provide a guarantee or an insurance for the depositors that we all have in our financial institutions, particularly the banking institutions. So the idea is very simple. If there's a banking institution failure, depositors must not be left worse off. They must be compensated of their funds in a speedy and transparent manner. What that basically means is that they will have to come to the NDGA and then they get compensated of their funds that were in that institution that failed up to a coverage limit of 25,000 Namibian dollars. Now the 25,000 Namibian dollars is by design because typically these type of institutions are there to guarantee small depositors, not necessarily your large depositors, because those ones have access to information, they can move their funds before an entity fails. So at 25,000 Namibian dollars, we are fully covering over 90% of depositors in Namibia. So we're very comfortable with that coverage limit. And that's the idea really behind this NDGA. It's been operating now for 5 years, housed within the central bank. So we are operating from Bank of Namibia. So we are staff members of the central bank. We just seconded by the central bank to operationalize this entity. And we've been doing that for the last 5 years. Okay.
We had an incident where we had one of the commercial banks fail in recent past. And the question would obviously be now, I lost money when the certain entity went bust. Does the NDGA cover my losses? Right.
It's a good question, and we get that question a lot when we go around the country trying to do stakeholder engagement and public engagement. You recall the SME bank, for example, which is probably what you're referring to, failed before the NDGA was established. So the law is very clear that the NDGA only covers, our scope only starts with institutions that fail after we were established in 2020. So anything that happened before 2020, unfortunately, is not covered, and that process of the SME bank is obviously still ongoing through the liquidation process.
Yeah. Since you are seconded by the central bank, that being the Bank of Namibia, what are the efforts currently, or rather before I get to that, want to throw in the issue of bank has gone bust, say one of the commercial banks that we now have operating in Namibia. Yeah. How does that process then start? I had, say, 70,000, X amount in the bank, I need to reclaim. Then that process works how?
Right. So the central bank supervises or regulates commercial banks, right? At the moment, by the way, we have about 7 commercial banks in the country. They're all members of the NDGA, or the Deposit Guarantee Fund, and they pay annual premiums to us. So the central bank is a regulator of these entities. And through the regulation, as you know, one or two institutions will not be able to keep up with the regulation, so it will go bust, it will fail. Maybe due to mismanagement or market forces or what have you. So the central bank then informs the Namibia Deposit Guarantee Authority that Bank A has failed, basically has closed shops. And that's when the NDGA comes in terms of compensation for depositors' funds. So the process works as soon as we get the notification from the central bank, we obviously go out to inform the public of the process that is going to be followed. The critical component of that process is that the public need to fill in their claim forms. If you had funds in the bank that has failed, you need them to complete a claim form so that it goes through the processing, and then you can be compensated of your funds. Obviously, on the form, you indicate how you want to receive your money. So do you want to receive your money in cash? Do you want the money transferred to another account with another bank? So all those options are there. But obviously, not everybody is able to download a form and fill it and submit it. So there's going to be a combination of the online engagement, but also physical engagement. Because remember, the depositors are all in the rural areas and have no access to these facilities. So we have to engineer a mechanism where we can engage online, but also physically, so that people can get their payment within 30 days, according to our procedures. We aim that after the bank has been declared as having failed, within 30 days, all depositors must have received their funds.
I'm thinking now, and maybe or perhaps you can help me. Can I think then of the NDGA as an insurer of the banks, where a bank fails, the NDGA sort of provides insurance coverage for bank customers' monies?
You're absolutely right. It's basically an insurance. The model works exactly like that. With insurance, somebody has to pay premiums. You pay premiums, then you have an incident, then you claim. It's the same way. The only difference here is that the depositors, you and I, are not paying any premiums to the NDGA. You and I don't even need to sign up with the NDGA to say, I want my funds to be insured. Can I sign up and then can I pay premiums? There's nothing like that. It's the commercial bank, the 7 member institutions that are paying premiums to us, and they pay this on an annual basis. So we calculate the premiums, we bill them every year, and then they pay their premiums. What we're doing with that funds we get from the commercial banks, we're growing that fund. Right now, we're standing at about 30.3 million by the end of December 2024. We started from zero in 2020. So as soon as any of these 7 bank institutions fail, the depositors will come to the NDGA, not to the central bank, not to the failing bank. They will come to the NDGA and say, I had 20,000 in that bank. And then you'll be compensated for your 20,000. I had 15,000, you get your 15,000. If you had 70,000, we only give you up to the coverage limit of 25,000. So the rest of the funds, you're going to have to claim it through the liquidation process. Once that entity has undergone liquidation, the assets have been sold off, then those people with excess funds excess on top of the coverage limit, they will then get their funding through that process.
And then in terms of the activities that the NDGA is looking is actively going to engage in for this calendar or other financial year, what are some of the initiatives that you're looking at?
Right. So we in 2022 we adopted our strategic plan. It's a 3-year plan, spending from 2023 to 2025. We have identified our strategic objectives in terms of what we want to do. Briefly, if I can just go through them. The first one, grow the fund. We want to aggressively grow the Deposit Guarantee Fund because ultimately the funds need to be there when it's needed. When there's a call on the fund, we must be there to honor our obligation and pay out the compensation to depositors. Number 2, we want to automate a lot of our processes and make them really seamless so that we are able to swiftly and effectively and efficiently carry out our mandate. Number 3, we want to have a rigorous stakeholder engagement campaign. We've already started with this last year. We've gone to about 4 or 5 regions last year. We're going to continue this year in 2025, again going to the regions, really explaining to depositors, wherever they are in Namibia, to say there is now an insurance for your funds that you have with any banking institution in Namibia. You don't have to keep the money at home. Keep the money in the banking system. It's now safe. It's now secure. There is an insurance. And of course, the last objective is really we want to promote the NDGA as a reputable brand. We are guided by our corporate charter and the values, And so we want the NDGA to be a credible institution, fit for purpose, so that it continue to honor its obligation. So those are 4 key strategic objectives, and we want to continue driving those until the end of 2025, and then we develop a new strategic plan for the next 3 or 5 years.
I'm sure in the eyes of the public and through your public engagements, the NDGA is probably not as well known as, for example, the Bank of Namibia or other key regulators. So as a layperson, how do I reach out to you? Should a bank collapse? Should I have queries? Should I have concerns?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think having started only 5 years ago and only housed at the central bank here in Windhoek, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of us going to the regions and engaging the public more widely. We have started that. We will continue to do that. Of course, the public can always reach us through our social media platform. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, and so on. The public can also reach us through the central bank. If you are in Windhoek, you want to see us physically, you can always come to the central bank, then we can have a discussion or attend to your queries there. Also, you can call really to the central bank and get our contacts. When you go out to the public, we engage. We first start with the regional leadership, the local authorities there, the governor's office. We leave a lot of materials with the office of the governors and the councillors also, so that they can continue to disseminate this information. What we also do when you go to the regions, we visit all the branches of all our banking institutions in the regions, and we leave a lot of information in terms of the brochures, the posters, so that when the public works in a branch in Usakos or a branch in Oshakati, then they know that they will find those brochures, and the bankers there can explain to them about the NDGA. So we are partnering up with the commercial banks. We are partnering up with the local authorities so that we can disseminate as much information as possible to the public.
Thank you so much for joining us on Business 7.
Thank you for having me. It was a great honor. And again, we want to thank the media, because the media has really assisted us to disseminate this information, and we want to partner and work with the media going forward to disseminate this information. Thank you.
Thank you. The Professional Provident Fund of Namibia has for the first time seen its assets reach the $2 billion mark. Its CEO, Johan van der Westhuizen, provides an overview of how this occurred.
Here you will see later a very nice return on investment that we got this year as well, taking us to, for the first time in the history of PPS Namibia, over the 2 billion mark here in Namibia. Right. The membership from 2020 up to now, it is a nice graph showing the right trend, going in the right direction. We are experiencing in the last 3 years, one of our strategies was, when I started, is to be more diversified and bring in more younger members. When I started there 6 years ago, the member profile was sort of my age, so we said, look, for the long-term sustainability of the business, you need to bring in a lot of young members and diversified, get a portfolio that is diversified in answering to all those diversification criteria. So yeah, that is a beautiful picture here as well.
B2 Gold's Oshikoto Gold Mine is earmarked to produce record amounts of gold. Its MD, John Ross, explains the process.
So the ability for something to be maintained at a certain rate or level. Now how that fits in with a mine is, we all know a mine starts up and it has to shut down at some point. But B2 Gold Corporation, B2 Gold Namibia believes we want to leave Namibia and the Otjizinjupa region and the site that we're operating in a better state than what we had found it. Okay? And this is through the sustainability initiatives which I will be talking to you through this presentation. So first, going to talk about the 2024 financial results, which, as Eric mentioned, for production was a really good year for us. Then contribution to the government. And I really want to urge you to report on this. There's a lot of falsities and bad press out there that says that mining companies are not giving back to the country. And that is so far removed from the truth. We need to get the right message out there so that we can encourage more investment in Namibia. If we get more investment into Namibia and we get the right way of thinking in Namibia, our Fraser rating will go up. And mining companies will want to invest in Namibia, which is a low-grade jurisdiction, but politically very stable. Then I'll talk to the transition to green energy, our corporate social responsibility initiatives, and then post-closure vision. So how do we deal with the mine closing and us sitting with a large land package, all these assets, solar plants, our CSR project portfolio? What do we do with all of that? Is it just going to go away, poof? Or are we actually building or making plans right now for that to be active and sustained beyond mine closure? Good, so on the back of the 198,000 ounces of gold produced last year, we recorded revenue of 8.89 billion Namibian dollars. That's record revenue for us. And from that, we paid 2.35 billion direct taxes. So when I say direct taxes, I say corporate income tax, royalties, export levies, and non-resident shareholder tax. So the dividends that we declare to our 90% shareholder overseas, we pay a 5% tax on those dividends, and that's really part of that. For 2025, we're looking forward to 175,000 ounces of gold being produced, midway between 165,000 and 185,000 ounces, at an all-in sustaining cost guidance of $980 to $1,040 an ounce. So you can see that where the current gold prices are sitting at the moment, that means significant profits and significant contributions to the Namibian economy.
Air Connect Namibia member Leonard Chipwata explains how the launch of scheduled air services between Namibia and Angola by Fly Angola will enhance tourism and trade between the two countries. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, our engagement here today is not merely about Fly Angola service to our capital. It is indeed a celebration of partnership, progress, and the shared vision of deeper connectivity between our two countries. Notably, Fly Angola's new routes represent a vital link that enhances the movement of people, trade, and ideas. For Namibia, it opens doors to expanded tourism, investment, and market access, while reinforcing our deep cultural and economic ties with Angola. At Air Connect Namibia, we are committed to advancing a service development in support of national economic objectives. Our mandate is to create and support an enabling environment where airlines such as Fly Angola can succeed and prosper.
President Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah recently launched the world's first green hydrogen iron plant. Let's take a look.
Sorry, this one. Yeah. Let's go in there.
David David of Kambwa Construction recently appointed 25 individuals to fix rural roads in the Omusati region. He explains how his team members will go about rehabilitating rural roads.
Now, as the Chief Executive mentioned that we have the capacity to make sure that before Easter we will deploy our machinery here so that we make sure that we will clear this water. We will try our best so that we can source quickly the material nearby, and then we make sure the access will be on track as we're going to do it, as we do what we say. Thank you. Thanks.
Running a business isn't just about hitting the big milestones, it's also about handling the day-to-day. From equipping your office, to closing deals over lunch, to managing your team's expenses while they're on the go. Now, with the FNB Business Credit Card, you can handle everyday expenses with ease. Enjoy up to 44 days of interest-free credit, unlimited swipes, and real-time expense tracking, so you're always in control. Apply for an FNB Business Credit Card. Contact us today to get started. FNB, how can we help you?
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's edition of the Business 7 Show. Hope to catch you again next week. Good night.